Have you ever wondered why some people have everything they need, yet still live in fear of losing it all? In a quiet little village beside endless golden wheat fields lived a small mouse named Rumi. Every morning before sunrise, while the rest of the village was still asleep, Rumi would quietly leave his tiny wooden house carrying a small cloth bag and spend the entire day collecting grains from the fields, the old mill, the farmer's cart, and even tiny crumbs outside the bakery. Everyone admired his hard work, but over time, something changed inside him. He no longer collected food because he needed it. He collected it because he was afraid. No matter how full his storage room became, a voice inside his head always whispered, "It's still not enough." His friend Milo the squirrel often invited him to join the other animals beneath the giant mango tree, where everyone shared meals, laughed together, and enjoyed peaceful evenings. But Rumi always refused, believing he needed just a little more before he could finally rest. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. His storage room overflowed with grains, seeds, and corn, yet his heart felt emptier every day. One evening, an elderly sparrow landed outside his tiny home. Her wings were tired after searching all day for food, and she politely asked if he could spare just a few grains to help her survive the night. Rumi looked at his overflowing storage room, then looked back at the hungry bird. Deep inside, he wanted to help, but fear spoke louder than kindness. He quietly shook his head and apologized. The old sparrow simply smiled sadly, thanked him anyway, and flew away. That night, although Rumi sat beside a room full of food, he couldn't sleep. The sparrow's tired eyes kept returning to his mind. The following morning, dark storm clouds covered the village. Heavy rain and powerful winds shook every house. At first, Rumi smiled proudly, believing all his hard work had finally paid off, because he had prepared for difficult times. But suddenly, water began leaking through a crack in the wall of his storage room. The tiny leak quickly became a flood. Rumi desperately tried to save every basket, pulling them across the floor with all his strength, but he was too small. One by one, the baskets fell over, and months of carefully collected grain were washed away. When the storm finally ended, nearly half of everything he had saved was ruined. Sitting on the wet wooden floor with tears in his eyes, Rumi realized that all his effort had not protected him from loss. As he quietly cried, someone gently knocked on his door. When he opened it, he was shocked to find the same elderly sparrow standing outside. Despite her own struggles, she carried a few dry seeds in her beak and gently placed them at his feet. Rumi couldn't believe it. "Yesterday I refused to help you," he whispered. "Why are you helping me?" The sparrow smiled kindly and replied, "Because kindness should never depend on how others treat us. I know what hunger feels like." Then she gently told him, "Saving is wise. Working hard is wise. Preparing for tomorrow is wise. But when fear controls your heart, even a roomful of food feels empty." Those words changed Rumi forever. He finally understood that the problem had never been saving food. The problem was allowing fear to steal his peace. The next day, he cleaned his damaged storage room, repaired the broken wall, filled a basket with fresh grain, and walked to the sparrow's nest to return her kindness. From that day on, Rumi still worked hard and continued saving for the future, but he also began enjoying the present. He accepted Milo's invitations, shared meals beneath the giant mango tree, helped young animals whenever they were hungry, and discovered a happiness that no amount of stored grain had ever given him. He even divided everything he collected into 3 baskets, one for the future, one for today, and one for kindness. When a young mouse later asked him how he had stopped living in constant fear, Rumi smiled and said, "I didn't stop saving. I simply stopped worshipping what I saved. Money is a good servant, but a terrible master. Earn honestly, save wisely, spend with purpose, share with kindness, and never forget to live while preparing for tomorrow." From that day, the village remembered Rumi not as the mouse with the fullest storage room, but as the mouse with the most peaceful heart. And the greatest lesson he ever learned was this: true wealth is not measured by how much we keep, but by how much kindness we are willing to share.